This is the story of a woman named Elena, a mother of two who thought her life was secure. She had a husband she loved, a quiet home, and a savings account that promised a safe future for her children. But life, as it often does, had a cruel twist waiting just around the corner. One ordinary morning, her husband John simply vanished. He took their car, emptied their savings, and left behind a staggering $300,000 in debt. The betrayal was a wound deeper than anything Elena had ever felt. In an instant, her entire world collapsed. She was now a single mother, carrying a burden that was never meant to be hers alone. Finding work felt like an impossible battle. Her days were a frantic race against time, picking up her children from school, cooking meals, helping with homework. And her youngest, little Mara, needed special care every single day. The world didn't slow down for her. The bills kept piling up, relentless and unforgiving. There were nights she'd whisper into the darkness, "I can't do this anymore." But then she'd look at her children's sleeping faces, and in their innocence, she found just enough strength to face another day. Eventually, the exhaustion became unbearable. Swallowing her pride, her heart heavy with defeat, she knocked on her mother's door. Through tears, she begged for help. Her mother, though aging, had a spirit of steel. Without a moment's hesitation, she moved in. She took over the chores, watched the children, and gave Elena the one thing she desperately needed: a chance to work without interruption. Elena threw herself into a grueling routine. She took on 3 jobs, working 7 days a week. There were no days off, no moments of rest, no time to even breathe. She became a machine, powered by a desperate mix of love for her children and fear of what would happen if she stopped. But even machines have their breaking point. Her body finally gave up. She fell seriously ill, and in her desperation, she had no choice but to take another loan. Life felt like a nightmare she couldn't wake from, an endless cycle of drowning in waters that just kept rising. 15 long years passed. Her eldest child grew up and left home to start her own life. Her mother was growing weaker with each passing year, and her daughter, Mara, still depended on her for everything. It felt like she was single-handedly holding the entire world on her shoulders, and her hands were starting to tremble, and yet she kept going. Then, one day, a small light appeared in the darkness. She found a remote job, one she could do entirely from home. It was a game changer. It meant she could stay by her mother's side and care for Mara without ever leaving the house. For the first time in over a decade, Elena felt a flicker of hope. But life wasn't finished with its surprises. One quiet afternoon, there was a sudden knock on her door. She opened it and froze. Standing there was John, her ex-husband, the man who had shattered her life 15 years ago. Next to him stood his mistress, her face a mask of irritation. The mistress spoke first, her voice cold and sharp. "John can no longer work. He's sick. I can't take care of him. Before Alina could even process the words, the woman turned and walked away, leaving John helpless and frail on her doorstep. John, the man who had once been her world and then her greatest source of pain, broke down and cried like a lost child. Elena's heart ached. The memories of betrayal flooded back, sharp and painful. But she also remembered the vows she once made. She remembered the humanity that still lived within her, buried under years of struggle. And so she took him in. But caring for him came with a crushing new burden, an additional $10,000 a month in medical expenses. It was overwhelming, too much to bear. She felt herself breaking all over again. It was during this time that a Filipino nurse named Andrea, who was helping with John's care, approached her. "Do you know," Andrea said softly, "that there might be a way to solve all your problems at once?" Alina looked at her, desperate. "How? Tell me." "I'll do anything," Andrea explained. "If you sell your house and move to the Philippines, everything becomes easier. The cost of living is so much lower. Your remote job will still pay you the same, but your expenses will shrink dramatically. You will live better, and you will finally be able to breathe again." Alina hesitated. The idea was terrifying. It meant leaving behind everything she knew. But as she looked around at her life, she realized she had nothing left to lose and a whole family to save. With a courage born from desperation, she took the leap. She sold her house for $500,000. Her car for $50,000 and all their other assets, including her mother's old house and antiques. All told, she gathered $1.1 million. She and her entire family, her mother, Mara, and even John boarded a plane to Manila. Her best friend there helped them find a house, a car, and everything they needed to start over. The amount was staggering. They bought a beautiful Philippine peso 20 million mansion, a brand new car, and with the rest they invested. They franchised a Jollibee and a Shell gas station. And after all of that, they still had Philippine peso 8 million left in the bank. Slowly, miraculously, their life began to transform. The Jollibee franchise was earning between 1 to 2 million pesos a month. The whole family enrolled in comprehensive health and life insurance. Her mother, free from financial worry, regained her joy and found peace. Mara, her daughter, blossomed with new affordable care services. And John, her ex-husband, lived out his final years being cared for with dignity and forgiveness. When John eventually passed away, Alina received a life insurance payout of Philippine peso 3 million, which she used for even more investments to secure her family's future. But the greatest miracle wasn't the money, it was the healing. Living among the Filipino people, she discovered a culture of resilience and joy. She was surrounded by people who smiled through storms, who found reasons to laugh even in their own struggles, and who treated strangers like family. And she realized something profound. She was no longer sad. She was no longer angry. She was no longer broken. She learned that true happiness isn't found in wealth or perfect circumstances. It's found in kindness, in forgiveness, and in the courage to start again, no matter how many times life knocks you down. A mother's strength can truly rebuild worlds. Elena and her family lived peacefully in their new home, surrounded by a community that taught them that life is not about being easy, but about choosing to live with love, humility, and hope. And that choice made all the difference. Thank you for watching. If Elena's story touched you, please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories.